Great.
Well, the first question is for you. Why are we going to give money to non-profit organizations? Why we not target the area that really need the money? Because if we're going to get $10,000, the usual suspect going to get the money, not the community. And that is wrong. We need to work with the community where people need to get vaccinated. That's what we need to concentrate. No wasting money like that.
It's not a waste of money yet. I'm sorry. Okay. Sure.
I was going to tell you the same thing, that we're not wasting money. We're putting resources into organizations that have been working really hard this past 15 months, helping our community. And
it doesn't say it here. Say anybody can apply.
well, the governor have the information about that. So, but I have to tell you, the nonprofit organizations have been working really hard this last 15, 16 months to make sure that they provide these resources to our community.
Governor? Totally different question. As I understand it, you have until midnight tonight to decide whether to sign or veto a bill that would basically shift the costs of renewable energy projects from developers to ratepayers. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to sign or veto?
Yeah, so I have vetoed the bill this afternoon after the press conference, and the reason is that as much as I support the idea of renewables, I don't think we had enough information to determine whether or not this was going to go on the ratepayers' back or not. So we'll take it up next year. If it's we prove out the numbers that we've received that said that was going to put millions of dollars of additional costs onto the ratepayers, and that's something that I think historically I'm on the side of the ratepayers on this issue.
So I didn't hear the word veto. Could you just say that out loud if that's your
Yeah,
intent?
no, I did. I vetoed that bill this afternoon after the press conference. Yes, that's done.
Will there be a veto message available to us this
There will
afternoon?
be, yes. It's on my desk right now. I just read it, and I want to amend it slightly. But yes, the main reason there is that to our best of our information, this was going to put additional costs onto the ratepayers, and that's something that I don't support.
Just one fast follow-up, and then I'll shut up. Have you vetoed any other bills? Are you contemplating vetoing any other bills?
I think that was my first veto. There's a number of more bills that are left to be, introduced to me, and I thank our policy team who's meeting with me and giving me updates on each bill that I'm signing. So at the moment, that's the bill that I have vetoed for the reasons I just talked about. Yeah.
Hi, Governor.
Yes.
Kathy covered one of my questions, but are there any bills that you have concerns with? I know you have a bunch that were brought to your desk recently.
We're looking, no, not, I can't say that specifically there's anyone that is really outstanding right now. I think that, I would say though, we are taking a look at the scope of the bills that are being provided to us, because I think that it would be really good to kind of determine, the wheelhouses that they represent. I'm not seeing enough that support the small businesses. I will put something into the budget next year as a small business package, and we're already starting to work on that. But the bills that we've received, I think that they're well thought out, and they make sense. Yeah.
Eleanor Slater, question. We're hearing the Joint Commission is back at Eleanor Slater today. Is the hospital going to keep its accreditation? Why or why not? And when will we know?
Yeah, so they are there. They're visited there because I followed up on some other pieces of information today relative to the staffing issues. And I'm not sure exactly when other than to say that, confirm that they are on site. We don't know whether there's a complete reversal or whether there's an acknowledgement of the work that's been done. And there's been a great deal of work that has been already completed. So my expectation is that that's going to satisfy the commission in a way that they show that we've been very aggressive in addressing I think the list was as long as 500 type of things that needed to be taken care of. And I know that we've got very deep into that list. So I would expect that at the very least there'd be some sort of acknowledgement of that and a time frame to complete the rest of the list. If not, I think that there could be a high level of satisfaction from the commission that we have actually addressed the issues, and that we're showing the commitment, not only on that one thing, but also showing the commitment that we're willing to address the entire Eleanor Slater issue.
Governor, were you aware of this Achievement First situation with the elementary school in Providence? And most importantly, do you support Achievement First being able to go into a traditional public school and essentially displace students?
Well, I can tell you that the concept was shared with me a few months back, and I was not very, supportive of it. And I think that the outreach should have been done a great deal, more inclusively. And at the moment, what I understand it is that is an agreement that's been signed by the mayor relative to, in terms of using the facility for 1 year. And I can tell you that we're in conversations right now about even trying to find something that would hit this September in terms of space that would take them out of the shared space.
Follow up on that. You understand, obviously, the politics. I'm sorry I can't see you.
Yes.
You understand the politics at play here. So you're a supporter of charter schools. You always have been. Was your concern about that? Is it the optics that you're mostly concerned about in terms of that school being in a traditional public school?
Well, I've had a lot of experience on this issue, including in the town of Cumberland when we had talked about using share space, and I saw that the timing wasn't right then, and I think that, and I don't think it's necessarily right now. And my fiduciary responsibility right now is to the district school in Providence, and if I think that something is potentially could stall our negotiations, which I believe are heading in the right direction. I know that we're in negotiations right now, our office, in a 5-hour session with the teachers union. And also, we need to partner in a way that is, accepted from both sides. So at the very worst, we'll do the best we can for this year. If we can find additional facilities that could support the young students that are in Achievement First in a way that's done in a real professional way, then that's the best case scenario for me. But at the moment, we're looking at making the best of the situation and work on behalf of all the students, both in the district school as well as the Achievement First.
Governor, just looking to get a few more specifics on this nonprofit funding program. Can you explain who exactly will be making the final calls on who's going to get the money? What specifically you're looking for in a nonprofit? I know you have this requirement about operating budgets. And if you end up having more nonprofits than the funding, more qualified applicants than the funding you have, what will it come down to in the decision process?
Yeah, so my preference is the number of the smaller nonprofits that have really stepped up in a way that don't have the funds to sustain themselves. So we'll make that known. The foundation will make those final calls. I think that they've shown and have had a track record that has shown that that they can do that very well. And we've reserved a little bit more dollars just in case, just like I did in the small business grant, right? We gave out more than $20 million on the small business grant at $5,000 a shot. We've reserved some dollars just in case there is an overflow and there's a real need there to fill, and we'll stay open to that. Yeah.
Governor McKee, with the formal charging, if you will, of the Officer Dolan and the officer-involved police shooting in West Greenwich, and finally the release in the last month or so of information requests that had gone back years in the Dominique Silva case, where Mayor Grevian had claimed, despite the fact that the gentleman was shot 5 times in the back, was a quote-unquote good shooting. There appears to be chaos in the Pawtucket Police Department. In the words of the vernacular, they've sort of turtled. They're not making any comments. A charging is made. Is it time finally to start an investigation into the affairs of the Pawtucket Police Department, as 7 of the last 14 police shootings in the state have been by on-duty officers or off-duty officers of the Pawtucket Police Department?
Well, I know you brought this up several times and then used Cranston as an example. the mayor at the time actually asked for the intervention. We're open, just as we are in Providence right now, of bringing state police into the city and working on a partnership and a program that's federally funded to help Providence in their issues. We'd be just as open to a request with the Pawtucket Police. But at this point in time, no, the answer is no. I have confidence in the city of Pawtucket to handle these issues, and if they feel as though that they would like some level of state help, I definitely would be answering the call for that.
Just a quick follow-up, what would it take for the state to actually have to initiate the process?
Well, I think that if we were requested to participate in some way, but again, we haven't offered in Providence to intervene with the Providence Police Department. You know, the leadership there, I have, you know, great confidence in that. Pawtucket as well. We would be supportive at this point in time, and at this point in time, it hasn't raised to the level where I believe that the state should, you know, inject themselves into a local municipality that has had a good track record over the years, and these instances are not, you know, certainly are disturbing on the merit of each one, but at this point in time, we haven't raised the occasion where the state would step in.
Governor, the bill that would allow for safe injection sites in the states, any thoughts about that? Do you plan to sign it?
Yeah, so if I had the time, I would play a message that I received from somebody who's very, you know, has lost a loved one to overdose. I can recall a meeting with the fishermen in Westerly in my office a few years back, and the person that headed up the organization sent me a letter about his son dying the night before from an overdose. There's no secret that we've pursued lawsuits against the opioid manufacturers and distribution centers by organizing municipalities around the state. So I think that we should be doing everything we possibly can. So I'll be signing that bill, and then I believe that there's a commission that gets set up. The governor is going to be able to, office will appoint 5 people to that commission. I was talking to our government counterparts in Quebec in my office last week, and they actually have one of these centers in Quebec. We plan to go up and visit that, and making sure that we do it in a way that that we get the results that we're looking for, right? That we want to protect people in a way that through their addictions, and that we don't need any more overdose deaths. And as I said earlier in my comments today, I think at the budget, we know that there's been people impacted during the last 15, 18 months in a real significant way. So my position is that we should be doing everything we can in that area, so I intend to sign that bill. It hasn't got to my desk yet, I don't believe.
Governor, on Sale Street in Providence recently, we saw police acting in a certain manner, and it was all on video, but not all the officers there were wearing their body cameras. Not all the officers there had their body cameras on. And I'm wondering what kind of prohibitions or what kind of rules we're going to have when we do a statewide program that we're spending a lot of money on. If there is the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights, there's only a limited amount of punishment that can be brought to an officer who doesn't wear their camera or use it properly. So what will the rules be, and how will we hold police accountable under Leo Barr?
So I believe that the body-worn cameras are going to be a voluntary basis for each department. But there will be, as I think was pointed out in the press conference, there will be an MOU signed by those departments that would address, I think, some of the things you talked about. I think that there was enough body cams to show on that particular instance, and especially the audio. We need to respect our police, and the police need to respect the people that they respond to protect. So the MOU would have to spell that out. The idea is that people, the departments that receive the dollars for the cameras will agree to have their personnel and their police officers wearing those cameras.
Well, we know that the MOUs that will be cut out. The rules will be established entirely by law enforcement, from the Attorney General to the police chiefs to the state police. And there's going to be public comment, but there's not going to really be strong public input or a way for the public to insist that certain rules be put in there and followed, all be decided by law enforcement ultimately. So isn't that sort of the watchmen watching themselves?
I think that there is oversight out of my office in terms of the state police, right? There's clearly, that's a straight line of, you know, of accountability with my office.
But you're restricted by Leomore from making comments, for instance. You can't speak, if the state police were to act out in some way, you would be prohibited from making any comments about the specifics of the case.
I thought the
So-
question was, what, you know, on the MOU, would there be?
Well, I'm pointing out that there's those two issues interlock, right? The Leomore and the MOUs and police accountability, it all interlock into the same issue. And I'm just wondering if body cams are actually worth the price we're paying if they're not going to enhance public safety. That's my question, I guess.
We're not going to spend the money unless the MOU kind of describes that there be usage of the cameras, right? That's the reason that they're there. And I, as a former mayor, you know, I understand exactly what you're talking about in terms of the Bill of Rights and the protections that are given to the police, which I support, but I also support the idea of holding police officers accountable, and if their behavior warrants it. And I have publicly stated that I felt as though it was a lost opportunity to at least move forward on that bill where there were agreements that were made by the union, by the police chiefs, and the state police, along with some of the advocates. Hopefully that we pick up that bill next year and we finish off what was started, but I think that is an important step to amend that Bill of Rights bill.
Any other questions? For the Governor Seneca?
Governor, you said you're going to Canada?
I'm not going to Canada, but I know that there's a, and what's the correct name for the facility that we're opening up, or that we're planning to open up? So there's a committee that's going to determine on the overdose issues. Yeah, so I'm not going to Canada, but I do intend to send people who are on our staff up there, because that's an example of something that's been done successfully, and I think we should take it serious. No, I have no foreign trips planned, and I don't. And by the way, the Canada trip is on hold because they haven't opened their borders like the United States has opened up our borders to Canadians. I would expect that'll happen very shortly. No, I'm vacationing right here in Rhode Island. There may be a governor's meeting that I'll be attending, but those details are not. I don't have those firmed up right now. I love Block Island. What date are you going to Block Island, Governor?
I'm going on Friday. You want to come
You're
with
going
me?
on Friday? Let me check my schedule. I'm going
Okay.
to see whether I can do that. Yes,
Good.
Block Island would be a great trip.
Governor, can you just address the nonprofits and the vaccination efforts? What is the thought process behind that? That these nonprofits are also going to help with vaccinating some people that, might not have gotten vaccinated before? How long has this kind of, I know we've been talking about different incentives. How long has this been in the
Yeah, so
works?
the incentive to me is to help the nonprofits that have really been stepping up. So it's a way to do that. I think that the people of the state of Rhode Island have shown that they have been incredibly responsible and have, to get vaccinated. A small group of people right now of the 18 and older, really, comparatively speaking, are unvaccinated, right? So it's meant to keep the story front and center. Hopefully you report that, because I think that's one of the things that's really important, that people read of why the vaccinations are still important. And at the same time, we can say thank you to the nonprofits that have stepped up as I described, right? Either food, vaccinations. We know that many of the smaller nonprofits are running clinics, clinics right in their shops. These are not well-funded nonprofits, but they've been stepping up in a real significant way to help the state of Rhode Island stay safe. So To me, it's a really good way to identify 75 to 100 nonprofits that have really stepped up, and then $10,000 to them would be a lifesaver for them in many ways right now.
Governor, with the anticipation of a September session of the legislature, what are your priorities during that session? And just as an aside, would you consider legislation that, given the surplus and given the fact that it's being used as medicine, would you consider ending the sales tax on medical cannabis?
Well, I mean, that's a tough one to end on. So I'll leave the cannabis aside. I will, I will say that we do have objectives that are really important to the state of Rhode Island. And it bears repeating, and I'll use the 30 seconds to do it, but we are leading the Northeast region in terms of reopening our economy. We're vacillating between 3 and 7 in the country reopening our economy. So I mentioned today at today's budget signing, the economy is number one for me right now. It is the most important thing that we possibly can do. So we're going to encourage the General Assembly to come back, hopefully to, there's an infrastructure amount, about $113 million, that's going to need some level of action or some level of sign-off, if in fact the General Assembly wants to be signing off on these federal dollars this summer. And then we're definitely going to be talking about using, front-loading the $1.1 billion in a way that I've already requested in terms of making sure that the economy stays really on track. Wouldn't it be nice if we get rid of this notion that we're the first in and last out of these downturns? Wouldn't it be nice? Right now we are, and those dollars are incredibly important to the state of Rhode Island. And I would say, talk to your rep and senator, and encourage them to help me help the economy keep going.
And just one last follow-up. Has the legislature formally agreed with you that there will be a September session? We hear the rumors back and forth.
No, I'm just hearing that there would be a fall session. I haven't heard any date, but I think they've been pretty clear that there's a few things they want to take up, and I've been very clear to the Senate President and the Speaker that those issues in terms of the federal dollars are ones that I would really believe that are very important for us to get out into our economy right now as being critical for us to maintain this economic, effort to make sure that we have a recovery that exceeds where we were when we came into this problem of the pandemic.
In answering the question here, I thought I heard the word sign off this summer. Is somebody required to sign off on something?
We're getting details on that right now, Kathy. There's about $113 million of infrastructure dollars that the state is going to be, I believe, qualifying for. Some of the guidelines are not in right now, but the initial explanation to me was that we would need a plan to provide a plan to Washington during the summer months. And I've made a commitment to the General Assembly leadership that federal dollars that were expended, that we received, that they would have some level of interaction in terms of how those dollars are used.